Hello there. What is going on, everybody? Today we are talking about Star Wars Armada and all of those ships that they didn't make for the game that you want to get into your game. I've got some ways to do that and some free cards to give out and some cool stuff that's going to be over on Crabbok.com right now. I'll have links in the description below. It's my gift to you, some little passion project fun stuff that I've been working on, and it's already been perfectly play tested for all of these cards we're going to show you guys, and we're going to talk about all of this cool stuff for Star Wars Armada, ways to get very cool new ships into your game today or very soon or maybe next month or whenever you can get a new ship and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a fun project, and I'm going to explain the thought process behind it in this video. Also, we are still doing a $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. And I'll put some links to some other videos as well. In my most recent Star Wars Armada battle report, there were a lot of people asking, hey, where did that Lucrehulk come from? Where can I get a Lucrehulk? How are you running against a Lucrehulk? Are you running homebrew? A lot of cool stuff like that. And so it made me want to revisit a project that I've been working on for a long time. I started a long time ago. I haven't been working on it continuously, but I've reinvested into said project, and that is to get a Lucrehulk into Star Wars Armada. Now, you've heard me say that a Lucrehulk really doesn't need to be in Star Wars Armada right now, and I still stand by that. Yet you're staring at a Lucrehulk, right? What's the deal here? So this is one of two cards I published to social media, I want to say over a year ago, in a test about homebrew, because a lot of people had, some suggestions on this, and so I've heard things from like, oh, I don't know if it's balanced, shouldn't it have more firepower in the front? I don't know if that's how a Lucrehulk, shouldn't it have squadron value higher than that? The points should be different, so on and so forth. Except this is a ship that's already been play tested. This is a ship that's already balanced, because it's not a Lucrehulk at all. It's a Providence. All right, it's a Providence carrier. So all I've really done here is I've just changed the art and the name, and then the little ship icon in the bottom left, which really doesn't matter for this, but it's a Providence. You run it as a Providence. You run a Providence base on there, and then if you have a Lucrehulk, you just pop off the Providence, put the Lucrehulk on there. Granted, you can do this without actually having this card. This is just another way to kind of amp up the proxy process. Again, I am not a big fan of homebrew Lucrehulks or really much homebrew stuff at all, but homebrew fluff, because you just want to proxy the miniature, as long as your opponent's okay with it, I think it's cool. I have no problem playing against proxy homebrew stuff, because I'm still playing a balanced game. I'm still playing against a Providence, right? And that was the case in my last battle report. That got me thinking about this whole project a little bit more. And I wanted to do a couple more cards and put them out there for free, and maybe they can be motivation for you guys, some of which you might not even need to buy any extra ships in order to do. Now, if you were thinking of picking up a Lucrehulk, well, I'm not going to necessarily link to any particular creators, mostly out of the fear of any potential legal trouble or IP infringements and stuff like that, because again, it's one of the reasons I'm not selling any Star Wars stuff right now, because I don't own the IP, and if I was selling Star Wars stuff, that could be, that could be considered, theft or IP infringements or what have you. So I'm not doing that. I'm not necessarily linking to any of that stuff today. But what I will say is, if you wanted a Lucrehulk for Star Wars Armada, Google is your friend. Another website is Etsy. There's a lot of really cool stuff on Etsy. So if you want to head over to Etsy and search for some Star Wars Armada Lucrehulks, who knows what you might find. But that's as far as I will take that. But I think that's going to be, avenues of approach like that are probably going to be something that happen a lot over the next year or so, because I'm pretty sure that the next Star Wars Armada Worlds, they may have to allow 3D printed stuff, since there is no stuff anymore. So, but again, this is all speculation. We'll see what the future holds. I don't know if there will be any legal trouble or not. I just have heard some whispers that there might be, and so I'm trying to just kind of skate the edges of liability right now. So I'm just giving you the card, and it's free. You can download this. It's over at Crabbok.com. It's so free, there's not even ads on Crabbok.com. I took all the ads off. So you can get over there. You're not going to see... If you see an ad, let me know. You should only see ads for my own stuff. some. There's no, like, you're not going to see any pop-ups or any stuff like that. I don't even run ads on it. So there you go. Additionally, along with the Separatist Lucrehulk, we also have the Trident class assault ship. Fans of X-Wing are familiar with the Trident, and of course the fans of the Clone Wars. This was the last huge ship to come to X-Wing, and of course it stands to reason, since they had the art assets available for X-Wing, that it would have made its way over to Armada eventually anyhow. And granted, this is probably the closest ship that just works best for it. Run it on the Gazanti for the Separatist. Already existing stats. You're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. You're just swapping out your little models. And again, this is also another ship that was featured in my last battle report. If you want to check that out, I'll have a link to it at the end. At the end of the video, right as I kind of roll the credits and stuff, there's Patreon names. So again, if you're on Patreon, there's certain tiers where you get your names in the credits, all that stuff. And then over here on the side will be some other videos. I'll try to throw a link to that last battle report that had the Lucrehulk and the Tridents and all this other cool stuff. But this is something you could run. You don't have to run these cards. You can just run the regular Gazanti card or whatever. But if you want to fluff up your game a little bit more, it's a fun thing to do. But I know I always thought it was funny when I first started showing off like some of these. People thought it was a full-blown homebrew card, and then was like, no, that's broken. And I'm like, is it broken? Because it's literally the Gazanti, Although this one is new. I haven't shown this one before. This one is a more recent one. The Clone Wars are not done yet, though, because the Republic has got to get some loving, too. This is the other ship that I had done early. I had some people give me a hard time about this one initially, thinking, well, this should have more side arc stuff and not the front arc. I'm like, I get that, but if we're just going to do that, then I'll just run the Imperial Arquitens. It stands to reason that there could be differences between the Empire and the Republic. Although this wasn't the perfect solution. This was probably the best solution that I could come up with at the time, and we'll just say that they just kind of angled their guns straight on forward as opposed to the side, right? But the Pelta kind of can work as an Arquitens. By the way, these ships still have the original ship in the middle, so you know what ship it is based off of. This is based off of the Pelta. All of the stats, everything is still full-blown Pelta. It's just the name and the art that have changed. Some of these you'll notice a points change because I adjusted some of the arts. I'm going off of some older art here as my kind of baseline for these. But this one is one that I've had already. Of course, it should totally happen. A lot of people want to run Arquitens with the Republic. Makes sense. But a lot of people also like, and I wish they would have actually done this one under FFG, the stealth ship. The stealth ship would have been a really cool thing, although it could have also risked breaking the game depending on how they did it. My thought always was that if they were to do a stealth ship, it would probably be least broken if all you could do was decloak, but you couldn't re-cloak during the battle. Like, you could treat it as like an early deployment, kind of like how Corvus works, or Radis, or something like that. It kind of like you can decloak and then jump in, but you don't have enough time in the battle, in the 6-round space battle, to be decloaking and recloaking again. You decloak once and then you do your fighting, and you probably die because it wasn't a super sturdy ship. And of course, if it's not going to be a super sturdy ship, let's run it as a consular cruiser, because the consulars are fast, small based, and not super sturdy. I feel like this is probably the closest fit to the stealth ship that we could get if we were doing a direct proxy. So that was my thought for this particular ship. Again, it wants to get up close. And yeah, let's just go ahead and say that this version doesn't have a functional cloaking device. Maybe it's got the rig for it, but those Stygium crystals are cracked and they're just not operational. And that's kind of how you do it. It is still fast, though. And it's so cheap, it might not even be worth shooting in the first place. So maybe it's cloaking through obscurity of points. Risk versus reward. Do you really want to spend that whole big front arc Star Destroyer shot on this little guy right here? You really want to spend it on this little guy right here? Okay, So maybe that's a way to thematically make it work. So I thought that was fun. But it's not all about the Clone Wars. We do have some of the original factions ships in here, starting with the Rebels. Did something a little different with this one and wanted to do Phoenix Nest. This is the Rebel Quasar. I always thought one of the best ways to run a Rebel Quasar would be to just stick a Quasar on top of an assault frigate. And of course, here's a card to do that. Now, I did go ahead and make this one unique because there is only one Phoenix Nest. Now, if you were actually making this as a real expansion, then of course Phoenix Nest would be the title. And really, you could also do this in a lot of different ways. Like, you could have just made a Phoenix Nest title that all it does is it changes an Imperial Quasar and makes it a Rebel Alliance. You know, so you could have done it that way. There's a lot of different ways that they could have done it. And then maybe made it a little bit, you know, maybe rebalanced it. Like, okay, Rebels can get a single Quasar, but it has to lose one squadron value because the Rebels don't have quite that many, you know, that much familiarity with the ship. Maybe it gets nerfed a little bit. I don't know. But this way, you're just running an assault frigate. You just can't run 10 of them. You can run, you know, 9 assault frigates and 1 Phoenix Nest, right? But so it's unique for no good reason other than the fact that there's only 1 Phoenix Nest, and I didn't want to just call it a Quasar Fire. I wanted to call it the Phoenix Nest. So I did this one in that kind of direction, but it's an assault frigate Mark II. One of the best ships in the game, honestly. So well-rounded, medium-based ship. The only medium-based ship the Rebels actually managed to get, but it's good. It's a good flagship. Got the defensive retrofit, decent hull, really good shields. It's a great carrier with 3 squadron and the right upgrades that you want a carrier to have. It's also a good battleship because it's got dice all around, good side arcs, works well with Akbar. Overall, great ship. A little too good for a Quasar, at least as far as its flexibility. But if it's one of the Rebels' best carriers, and it also happens to be a medium ship, so just kind of works out right as far as being a Quasar proxy. So that's the Phoenix Nest. Again, these cards are all available on Crabbok.com. I'm going to have a link in the description below. Last but not least, the Empire's got to get some loving too, and we went with the least popular Empire ship because I wanted to have some fun with the Cantwell-class Arrestor Cruiser. I wanted with the combat refit for the Interdictor on this one, just because I thought it was kind of funny. I wanted to give some reason to run the Interdictor combat refit. Of course, you could easily just do this for a regular Interdictor, but I'm like, nope, we're doing it for the combat refit. The ship that probably should have gotten a points reduction more so than any other card in the entire game. It still didn't happen. But that's okay. I'm going to still run it anyway because not everything has to win all the tournaments. Sometimes it's cool to put a little sauce on your fleet and say, I'm running a Cantwell-class Arrestor Cruiser, or otherwise known as an Interdictor combat refit. I'm running the worst ship in the game, and I'm going to have fun with it. Maybe even crank out a single victory in the day. Who knows? It'd be really fun to do. But, of course, Interdictor seems to work well for the Arrestor Cruiser because they have some similarities to them, although the Arrestor Cruiser was a little bit more singularly focused with its sort of experimental technology, which I think also lends itself to the Interdictor combat refit with only the one experimental retrofit. So, again, you can only kind of get the one tractor beam on there if you wanted to. You know, that was kind of some of my thought process with it. And, you know, this one with the nicer anti-squadron battery, kind of when we saw this one do some stuff in Andor Season 1, it gave, Luthen's squadron a little bit of a hard time, although he was actually able to take the whole thing down all by himself. But that was, that was definitely plot armor. Either way, I wanted to get the Arrestor Cruiser in this game for a long, long time, and if only it were still being made by FFG today, I think we would have had it. But for now, it makes for a great excuse to bust out the Interdictor combat refit. Again, all these cards are available over at Crabbok.com under custom content. I will have a link down in the video description below. If you like this or anything else, let me know some other cool proxies. I know a lot of people want to run Dreadnoughts. The problem is Dreadnoughts could work for any faction, and then all of a sudden you're getting a little bit more homebrew. It's harder to do a one-for-one swap when it's a multi-faction ship because there's no other multi-faction ships. So a Dreadnought, just do whatever you want. I could see it being a Nebulon. I could see it being an Assault Frigate Mark IIA or something like that. I could see it maybe being a Gladiator. But the problem is, if it's supposed to be the same ship that could be used by a lot of different factions, again, it's harder for me to justify a one-for-one swap. Because we don't already have one ship that's used by every faction. So it's a little bit trickier to do that. So that's why I chose not to go with the Dreadnought at this point in time. However, who knows? you know, again, Ahsoka Season 2 is supposed to have an awesome space battle. Maybe it'll be so awesome that it will inspire Armada to be picked back up, and Asmodee will shuffle things around. Who knows what the future holds? It could be amazing. Could be amazing. Or it could just be hopium. And for me, it's not really hopium. I don't have any good reason to think that that's actually about to happen, but it's a cool thought, and I like cool thoughts because anything could happen, and stranger things have happened, and who knows. All right, but that's going to do it for today's video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are amazing and help make this whole channel possible. I will talk to you soon. May the Force be with you. May the 4th be with you, which is, again, just around the corner. And live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. And you can't take the sky from me. And always wash your socks.